Welcome to the Auburn University Graduate School's third webinar in a three-part series, Doctoral Edition, Getting Through and Getting Out. Today's session is a more in-depth look at the matriculation process specifically for doctoral students. All three sessions are recorded and posted to our website at graduate.auburn.edu. Today's webinar is a more in-depth view than our previous general session, which is now available on our website and YouTube channel. Our doctoral student session will cover the AU Graduate School matriculation process, who we are, what we do, and who to contact when you have questions. We will go over online resources such as the Doctoral Checklist, Dissertation Forms, dates and deadlines, and conclude with a live question and answer session. Now I'd like to introduce our matriculation team at the Auburn University Graduate School. Mackenzie Griggers is a graduate advisor serving students with the last names that begin with letters A to I. I am Ibrahim Karim, serving students with last names that begin with letters J to R. And our Director of Matriculation, Sherry Ray, serves students with the last names beginning with letters S to Z. As graduate school advisors, we are part of an entire team to support graduate students in ensuring that you have met your degree requirements at Auburn University. We work in conjunction with your faculty advisor and the Graduate Program Officer, or GPO, from your department to help you make it through your graduate journey, hopefully in an efficient and timely manner. The graduate school matriculation staff assists graduate students in everything after admissions, all the way to and including graduation. The matriculation team can assist you with drop add, confirming enrollment, loan deferment, and various forms and workflows throughout your graduate school career. Nearing the end of your time at Auburn, our matriculation team also completes graduation checks and processes graduation applications to ensure you have met your degree requirements. Now we'll look at some of the resources available to all graduate students on our graduate school website. These resources help you follow the process and procedures needed to get through and get out of graduate school efficiently. Let's start with Staying on Track for Graduation, found under the Current Students menu on our website at graduate.auburn.edu. This timeline graphic from our website provides a general overview of the process of getting through and getting out. For dates and deadlines, watch the graduate school academic calendar for things such as the dissertation deadline. These deadlines are in place well before the last day of class of the semester to ensure that signatures or approvals can be obtained, forms can be processed, and that students completing their degree programs can be on the graduation list for commencement ceremonies. In addition, each program has their own requirements, so please work closely with your major advisor to follow the sequence and timeline for your program. With those dates and deadlines in mind, doctoral students should work on any qualifying examinations, written or oral, scheduling the defense, and any other program requirements in advance of the deadlines to allow time for required revisions or additional approvals that might delay submission to the graduate school. To ensure you are progressing through your program as well as meeting graduate school requirements, we provide a doctoral completion checklist on our website. We'll come back to this checklist more in depth on the next few slides after we cover the CTEC Form, which is one of the first items on the checklist. The CTEC Form, which is an acronym that stands for Committee, Transfers, Exceptions, and Candidacy, does all four of those things. It is required of all degree-seeking students. This is not required for graduate certificate programs, but that is the only group that is exempt. The CTEC form is submitted to appoint your advisory committee. Doctoral students should submit this form only after 30 credit hours of coursework have been completed, including any transfer credits. C is for committee. Doctoral students will input their personal and degree information and then list all committee members on this form. T is for transfer credits. Unlike undergraduate students, transfer credits are not applied upon admission. Transfer credits for graduate students will be credited to you once approved by your advisor using the CTEC form. The graduate school does not review your transcripts for transfer credit, but your faculty advisor is the one to approve any courses for transfer credit and state which courses you took elsewhere that will be counted as specific credit for Auburn University courses. Please work with your faculty advisor to follow the graduate school policy on transfer credits to list these out individually. Your advisor will then get a digital request to approve these transfer credits when the CTEC form is submitted by the student. E is for exceptions. If you have substituted one course for another course during your program, taken an elective in place of a core course, or not been able to take a course because it wasn't offered and instead took something else, please list these on the CTEC form. This is how the graduate school knows that your current advisor has approved a course substitution or exception to the written curriculum standards. If a student does not list any course exceptions or substitutions on the CTEC form, the graduate school advisors will review your plan of study and see missing courses or requirements. List those here so we can get your major professor's approval and clear you for graduation when we review your plan of study during our graduation checks. C is for candidacy. For admission to candidacy, the CTEC form is required before the general oral exam. A student must also have 30 hours of graded coursework to be eligible to take the general oral exam. After a student takes and passes the general oral exam, they are admitted to candidacy and considered all but dissertation, or ABD. A doctoral candidate is considered full-time when registered for just 1 credit hour per semester. This is important for international students as well as domestic students who need full-time enrollment due to financial aid. Going back to the on-track graphic, let's step back and go over the doctoral completion checklist. This checklist can be accessed from the current student section of the graduate school website or from the On Track to Graduation page as well. All graduate students must maintain continuous enrollment in 2 out of 3 semesters in an academic year. Enrollment in the summer semester is optional, except in certain circumstances, such as when you have a program requirement, you are an international student in your first semester, or you have a graduate assistantship, GA, GRA, GTA, where you are working and getting paid in the summer. In order to get paid, you must be enrolled. Before candidacy, an advisory committee should be selected by the student and the major professor. The advisory committee is responsible for developing the student's plan of study and conducting the doctoral, general, and final examinations. It should consist of at least 4 members of the Auburn University graduate faculty. Additional voting members may be appointed to the committee, including no more than 1 non-Auburn University faculty member, who must hold a terminal degree in the field. The major professor must be graduate faculty in the department or program granting the degree. The formal appointment of the advisory committee occurs when the CTEC form is submitted to the graduate school. After 30 hours of graded coursework, the student can submit the CTEC form and schedule the general oral exam with their major professor and committee. This should be done in close consult with your major professor, following the program standards and protocols. The general oral exam should be completed at least 2 semesters before anticipated graduation. Once your major professor and the advisory committee have agreed upon a date for your general oral exam, The student then submits the request for the report on the general oral exam, seen here on the checklist. This form is also available on the Doctoral Forms workflow webpage, which we will go over in just a moment. On the day of your scheduled exam, the graduate school will send your committee members a digital request for approval of the general oral exam. Once this exam has been successfully completed and all members have been electronically approved, admission to Candidacy begins. After candidacy, most doctoral students, referred to as doctoral candidates from this point forward, will have completed the majority of their coursework, if not all of their courses. After admission to candidacy, the graduate school will automatically enroll doctoral students in the Grad 6 AAO 0-credit course to indicate a full course of study. This means that you are considered a full-time student regardless of the number of credit hours of course registration. Candidates are considered full-time when enrolled in Grad 6 AAO, even if they are taking only 1 credit hour per semester, as you are all but dissertation, or ABD. For international students, enrollment in Grad 6 AAO means that you do not have to register for 9 credit hours of coursework per semester and can enroll in only research and dissertation. For domestic students using financial aid, Grad 6 AAO indicates full-time enrollment, and you do not need to register for the minimum 5 credit hours per semester to meet financial aid requirements. Please note that all graduate students must maintain continuous enrollment in 2 out of 3 semesters, as previously explained. The next item at this stage is to start making progress on your dissertation. The electronic dissertation guide provides templates, style guides, examples, formatting requirements, and more in an expandable section of the web page that really takes you through each step of writing a document. This is a great place to start by downloading the templates to organize your research and writing, even before you start your literature review. As you go through drafts and revisions with your major professor and finally get to the point of scheduling a defense, then you should apply for graduation. The graduation application through AU Access is required 1 semester before you graduate. It may also be necessary at this point to resubmit your CTEC form if your committee has changed or if you have any transfer credits or course exceptions to your plan of study. The CTEC form and the graduation application are 2 forms that you must submit so the graduate school advisors know to check that you've completed all degree requirements pending your last semester and dissertation defense. Once you have submitted the graduation application, graduate school advisors will enroll you in the 0-credit course UNIV 4 AAO for your final semester, which also places you on the graduation list. These are the 2 critical forms to getting through and getting out. Now we'll go over the dissertation process more in depth and follow along with the Doctoral Forms workflow graphic linked at the bottom of the checklist to illustrate this process. Let's go over this step by step. We've covered the first step that happens before candidacy, the general oral exam. As a reminder, this should be done after 30 hours of graded coursework are complete, but at least 2 semesters before you plan to graduate. Typically, a few semesters pass between candidacy and the next steps. Doctoral candidates should maintain continuous enrollment of at least 1 credit hour and at least 2 semesters per academic year. After you have submitted several dissertation drafts and revisions to your major professor and your committee, work with your major professor to determine when you are ready to submit the first submission approval form to your committee. Your major professor should guide you on how long the committee needs to review and when to submit this form. Please note, the student and the major professor should work together to select the university reader, who must be graduate faculty and outside the student's department. Simultaneously during this process, candidates should submit a PDF of your dissertation to doctoral@auburn.edu for a required format check. Also, if you haven't already at this point and you are close to graduation, you should file your graduation application 1 semester in advance of your graduation term. Each committee member will receive an electronic approval request at the first submission. If your committee has changed, you must first update this on the CTEC form so the correct committee members receive this request. Once all committee members have approved the dissertation first submission, the university reader is sent the dissertation evaluation form by the graduate school. Then, if everyone approves this first submission, the candidate is ready to schedule the dissertation defense with the committee. The candidate should make any final edits based on feedback from your committee, the format check, and the university reader prior to the final dissertation defense. Once the university reader has finished, a link will be emailed to the candidate to provide information about your defense date, time, and location. Work with your major professor closely to schedule a defense, reserve a presentation room, and ensure your entire committee can be present at the selected date and time. Every member of your committee must be present for your defense. This is also where you should check the graduate school calendar on dates and deadlines to try to schedule and defend your dissertation well in advance of the deadline to allow time for revisions and contingencies. Once a doctoral candidate submits the defense information, the student's committee, as well as the university reader, will receive a notification of the dissertation defense time and date, also known as the final examination. If this date gets rescheduled, please contact your graduate school advisor immediately. Once the final exam date arrives, the committee and the university reader will receive an email containing a link where they will provide the results of the final exam after the defense. Once the committee digitally approves your dissertation on the report on the final oral exam, the committee and the university reader will receive a link to the Electronic Thesis and Dissertation, or ETD, approval form. Your committee's digital approval on the ETD approval form signifies that the committee has, number 1, reviewed the thesis and dissertation and approves of the document for electronic publication. Number 2, approves of the embargo option that the student chose, delaying publication until a specific date. But let's say that you defend close to the deadline and can't get the revisions and a final submission in before the graduate school deadline. Or perhaps you defend a few days after the last day of classes during your finals week. Don't worry, you have a few options. If you are just a few days past the deadline, have your major professor contact your graduate school advisor and ask for a brief extension. We're talking a few days here, not a few weeks. If you won't meet the deadline or defend during finals or in between semesters, then you will need to register for at least 1 credit hour for the upcoming semester and submit the final dissertation with all revisions during the following semester. You must be enrolled in the semester in which you plan to graduate and finish your requirements. If you defend and submit after the deadline is passed, you will need to enroll and graduate the following semester, even if you are not physically on campus that semester. Complete any final edits required by your committee or the university reader after your defense. Then you should submit your dissertation on AUETD, which stands for the Auburn University Electronic Thesis and Dissertation Database. The final dissertation is uploaded in PDF format, following the format guidelines, and requires login through AU Access. The last item is the survey of earned doctorates, which helps the graduate school know where our graduates find jobs post-graduation. Whether you work in industry, government, or academia, we are interested in your success and how we can do a better job of preparing our graduate students for success in the workplace. The graduate school website is full of resources to assist and guide you through this journey. The academic calendar should be visited frequently, and other website content such as the forms directory, the ETD guide, and the graduate student handbook are all very useful sections to review. The general overview session held last week was recorded and is now available on our website and YouTube channel. Today's sessions for the master's and doctoral students will be posted on our website at the conclusion of this webinar for future reference. As always, we welcome students to stop by Hargis Hall, call or email, or schedule a meeting with a graduate school advisor via our website. We invite you to follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at AU Graduate School, and on Twitter at AU Grad School. Now, our matriculation advisors are here to answer your questions about the doctoral process covered in today's presentation. If you have questions that are specific to your degree program or situation, we encourage you to contact your graduate school advisor directly so that we can make the best use of time today for all students.